Good morning, guys. Today we're going to do a video on how I configured my RS6, things I'm happy with, things maybe I might change. And there's not much. I was really happy with the way the car turned out. So I'm just going to kind of walk you all through the things I was thinking about as I configured it, the options, you know, would I change something again? Am I happy with it? Because I know a lot of you are thinking the same things. How should I configure it? Should I do this? Should I do that? So let's get right into it here. First off, let's start with the exterior of the car. I went with the Glacier White $600 option. I wanted that white on black contrast look, guys, and the car looks absolutely fantastic. So one thing that I did do, 2,500 bucks, black optics package, really important to me. I wanted that black lower side skirt here that you all can see here. I wanted the black windows. I wanted the black up top on the roof, the trim all blacked out. I love that the front grille, you know, the RS6, the Audi badging, all black. Before I took delivery, I did have 20% tint put on all the windows. I also had the 22-inch wheels painted black. It was actually a mistake by the dealer. I wanted the wheels painted matte black. In case you're trying to decide matte or glossy, they painted them glossy, and I'm really happy they did because it matches the piano black trim. But again, just the black emblems with the white contrast, I mean, the car looks really good. I think it was definitely worth it to get the 22-inch wheels and get that package. Now, another option here, $6,300 to go with carbon on the same bits that I've already pointed out. Guys, it's a lot of money. And I actually prefer, I mean, the carbon is gorgeous, but I do actually prefer straight black. I like that white on black contrast, and it just pops a little bit more than the carbon, which is going to be a little bit more of a gray. But obviously, I don't think anyone's going to add carbon to their car and be sad that they did. Just not quite in the cards for me. Red calipers, that was a must. You know, $500 option. Red calipers. The calipers on this car are huge. Now, I did not get the carbon brakes. Okay, carbon brakes, we're going to add another $9,000. This is my wife's daily driver. It's just totally unnecessary, guys, for what we're going to use this car for. And it's a 16.5-inch front rotor, 14.6-inch rear rotor, massive calipers. Like, you can't see that, just how big that is because of the camera, you know, but I mean, that's my hand. So the calipers on this car are absolutely massive. Red just makes it pop a little bit, and really happy with the way that turned out. Another option that I did, sport exhaust, $1,000. Now this one's interesting. If you're trying to decide whether or not to do the sport exhaust, ultimately this is going to come down to, are you going to replace it with an aftermarket exhaust? I think nobody should have this car without getting a sport exhaust if you're not going to do an aftermarket exhaust, because the car is super quiet. When you put the car in normal drive mode, comfort mode, you hear absolutely nothing. You might as well be in a Honda Accord. So you're going to want that sport exhaust to open up the valves and get at least a little bit of sound. And I think the sound of this car is great. It's just not quite as loud. And so what are you going to do with the aftermarket exhaust that's going to drive this? Now, for me, I don't think I'm going to do a full aftermarket exhaust. If you get the sport exhaust and you do downpipes, which I'm probably going to do, there's some videos out there. The sport exhaust, factory sport exhaust plus the downpipe sounds absolutely fantastic. Gives it a little throatier, a little louder, but you still have that option to turn it to a quiet mode. There's also a Red Star center resonator delete option that will add a little bit more sound to it, again, only in the sport mode. And I think that's the way I'm going to end up going. Okay, let's jump into the interior here. I'll show you what we did on the inside. So, starting right away, the carbon trim package. This is a must. $500 to go to carbon. I mean, you have to do it. It's really not something to consider one way or the other. Executive package, guys, $2,500 for the executive package. Totally worth it. Adds the heads-up display, which I absolutely love. Adds soft closed doors, which is great. You know, some extended leather. I don't know exactly where. I think it's maybe up here. Just a few other places where there's some extended leather, but really you're getting that heads-up display and heated rear seats, which you may or may not need, but the heads-up display is totally worth it. Driver assistance package, this car has that, $2,500. Again, happy that I did that. Adaptive cruise, lane assist, One thing that I love about this is that in the heads-up display, and I'll do another video of this later, but in the heads-up display, you're gonna get the traffic sign right there beside the heads-up display speed. It'll actually show you the speed limit on the road, and it'll blink if you go a defined amount over the speed limit, and that's a fantastic feature. Obviously, if you're intentionally speeding, flooring it, it's not gonna help you because you're gonna blow right through it. But for that unintentional speeding situation where maybe you catch yourself going 8, 9, 10 miles an hour over and you're just kind of not really paying attention, having that show the speed limit right there and blink in the heads-up display is definitely worth it, guys. $2,500 for night vision and thermal imagery. Did not check that box, didn't do that option. I just, you know, not really something that I needed or wanted. Did do red stitching in here, again keeping with that red calipers on the outside. It's subtle, but it looks really good, and just gives it a little bit more of a sporty feeling to have that red stitching throughout the interior. $4,900 for Bang & Olufsen upgrade. Did not do this. So this is one where you're gonna have to really think, is it worth it? How good is the factory sound? To you all that are wondering, the factory sound in this car is very, very good. Now, I'm not a teenager, so I'm not trying to roll around and have my music be super loud so that all the neighbors can hear it. I do like to turn it up though. You know, you put the windows down, you go out, you enjoy a ride. I do like to turn it up. And the Bang & Olufsen sound, I think, is really, really good. I have had no complaints. Once you get the subwoofer set up, the treble, the bass, the surround sound, 3D, all the different options, you sit down and play with it, I don't think anyone's gonna have complaints over the factory sound. And for $4,900, this will be the first car that I leave the audio stock in. I've always done audio in my cars, and I know what you can get for $5,000 on the aftermarket, and I just think you can get a lot more value there than you can putting it in. But again, for 99% of consumers, if you're thinking, should I spend that extra $5,000, I would say save it, put it into mods, because I don't think you're gonna have any complaints about the factory sound. Sport seats, again, not really anything to consider. Of course, you want the sport seats. There was an option for contour seating. I don't really know what it gave. Maybe a more softer seat or something, a little more adjustability. It's just unnecessary. These seats adjust plenty. The headrests are fixed because they're the sport seat, but not a big deal. Save the $1,500. Other things that are already included, guys, from the factory: 4-zone climate control. Love that. Both sides of the rear have their own climate control. Audi Sport on the ground. It's not showing right now because the car is running probably, but Audi Sport shows on the ground underneath all 4 doors, which is great. Just, you know, really cool. Dual sunroof, front and back. And then, of course, guys, factory, the fender flares. I mean, just look at how muscular that looks, how beefy that looks in the back. Absolutely love the way this car looks. So, hope that helps.